Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Wednesday, November 19th, and I am your host, Josh Newberg. We are exactly 2 weeks from National Signing Day, the early signing period, which is on December 3rd. It's only open for 3 days. Remember, December 3rd is not the only day recruits can sign. It is the first day recruits can sign. We got to get there first, and we are gearing up for another crazy weekend of college football. Big visits are happening. Big commitments are happening. If you guys are subscribed, we already had 2 live commits on the channel this week. More to come. We got a big show today. Lots to cover. It's going to be great. I'm excited. But you guys, you know what I'm really excited about? Look at this. We are almost to 100K. It's been an overdrive. I said I hope we can get there by signing day. I think we can get there by this weekend. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, so today's show, as I said, we got a lot to cover. We're going to go out to Eugene, talk some Oregon Ducks recruiting, head to Gainesville, talk about that Florida Gator coaching search. Is it going to be Lane Kiffin? We're going to find out. Recruit reaction also with Adam Gorney to some of these coaching searches and what it means for recruiting 2 weeks from signing day. We also have a rankings update here at Rivals. New 5 stars added. We'll talk to Charles Powers all about it. Big show today. Let's get to it. Let's talk a little Oregon because it's an exciting weekend. College game day coming to Eugene this weekend, and so are top recruits. That's what we're going to break down in this video. We got Max Torres from Scoop Duck, but before we get going, Oregon fans, these are exciting times. Flip season is here. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Rivals Recruits channel. All right, let's start with Jalen Lott. Earned 5-star status today in the latest Rivals update, and we're 2 weeks out from signing day. There's been rumors, whether it be Texas or Miami, both teams trying hard to flip him. It's easy to see why, but it seems like Oregon has a good hold on this recruitment. What are you thinking 2 weeks out from signing day?
2 weeks out from signing day, I'm feeling pretty good about Oregon's chances to hang on to Jalen Lott here. The last that I had heard, he was expected to visit Oregon this weekend for the USC game, so always great to get one of your top commits back on campus for another trip, get in front of the staff, and just realize why they fell in love with the school and the program. So there has been some noise out there about Miami and Texas, but I haven't gotten too much traction on my end as it pertains to both Miami and Texas. So 2 weeks out, I'm feeling pretty good about Jalen Lott sticking with the Ducks, but it ain't over until the ink dries, so you got to see what happens. But feeling good now.
All right. Now, speaking of flips, Oregon flipped Utah wide receiver Hudson Lewis on Tuesday, and it sounds like there's another Utah flip brewing. Do you think the Ducks could pull it off before signing day?
We'll see. They're definitely trying. So the Hudson Lewis flip was one that came together really quickly, was offered, and then committed within the span of 48 hours, Josh. So that was one that Ross Douglas in Oregon had been working on behind the scenes. He did come out for a visit for the Wisconsin game earlier this year. I'm assuming that the other flip you're alluding to is LaMarcus Bam Bell out of Lake Oswego, Oregon. So a top in-state product has been getting looked at by the Ducks, recently got offered. So this is one that's very interesting because you also have to look at Tredarian Ball, the other running back that Oregon has committed in the 2026 class, recently got, grouped into the athlete, position because he has been catching a lot of passes over there at Texas High as much as running the ball. So that's been interesting. And then with LaMarcus, this is a guy who kind of grew up with the Oregon Dream School storyline that you hear with a lot of in-state guys. But maybe he has something that he really loves in Utah. I've reached out for comment, but it doesn't necessarily sound like he has been wanting to go on the record lately, so you got to respect that. But one would think if the Ducks can get him on campus this weekend, that would definitely bode well for them being able to pull this one off. Rashad Samples has been a great recruiter since he's gotten to Oregon, but we don't know just yet. He hasn't confirmed whether or not he's going to be taking that trip. So if he does make it onto campus, I think that would bode very well. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. So does the flip of Hudson Lewis at the wide receiver position, does that kind of put an end to the rumors of a late flip for Caden Dixon-Wyatt or even a Chris Henry Jr.?
I don't think it'll necessarily put an end to those rumors because those are two players, either one of them, Oregon would take them in a heartbeat in this class. I saw both of those guys in action this year for the Mater Dei St. John Bosco game, and they just single-handedly or two-handedly put the team on their back and combined for 5 touchdowns in that game. So if I had to pick one of the two that Oregon has a better shot with, Josh, I would definitely go with Caden Dixon-Wyatt. He is a West Coast native, whereas Henry is from Ohio. The Ducks have recruited him for a very long time, and they haven't stopped communicating with him. I had heard a little bit of chatter about his camp maybe being a little bit more receptive to some of the contact from Oregon. But obviously, getting Caden Dixon-Wyatt on campus this weekend would be very big. Mater Dei does have a playoff game on Friday night, and Oregon has an early kickoff at 12:30 Pacific, so that doesn't help things. But Oregon would love to have one of those two guys in this class for sure.
All right, so they kind of sound like cherry on top type recruits. Not necessarily a need,
Exactly.
but if they were available, there's no doubt Oregon would have room for them. Are there any other positions right now that Dan Lanning would like to add to this cycle?
Right now, it looks like 2 spots are the most prevalent for the Ducks, and that is cornerback and interior defensive line. The Ducks did host Assad Chapman, a junior college cornerback, for an official visit last week. You also have a couple of different schools like Mississippi State, North Carolina in the mix there for Chapman, who's kind of a late riser here in the 2026 recruiting cycle. They are going to be looking at another DB athlete in Azel Banag from the state of South Carolina, former Harvard commit in the 2026 class. So maybe that's someone we'll talk about a little bit more here. He's expected to take his official visit to Oregon this weekend. And then you also have a couple of names that they've continued to recruit along the interior of the defensive line or kept contact with. Viliami Moala is one of the more interesting names. He's a former commit that is now committed to UNC, but now he has also moved from Eugene out to Alabaster, Alabama, where he's now enrolled at Thompson High School. So it seems like there's some more stability at North Carolina than maybe some of us were expecting in the recent weeks. So we'll see if he maybe takes a visit. I think that if there were one position that Oregon could pull a rabbit out of the hat at, it would be along the interior of the D-line.
All right. Well, with USC coming to town, let's get to this visit weekend. Who are the headliners you're keeping an eye on? Inside Scoop listeners, it's time to talk Roebuck. And there's only one way to describe Roebuck. It's best fit, best feel. And for those who aren't familiar with Roebuck, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Roebuck has released my favorite with their new licensed game day collection. It is now our favorite. They have polo designs, clean hoodies, quarter zips, and really it goes with all your favorite team schools. It's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roebuck's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They're both super comfortable. I have them. They have an elastic waistband, a great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice looking short, but they are comfortable for a day on the move. Roebuck has also proudly been leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. So here's what we're going to do. Use promo code Josh on Roebuck.com for a generous 20% off all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code Josh.
Yeah, so not a whole lot in the 2026 class, Josh. We had already kind of talked about maybe some names to watch, but the 2027 class is loaded with talent. Josiah Molden is an Oregon legacy and the top player in the state. Oregon has recruited him since the 8th grade, so very good to be getting him back on campus. 5-star wide receiver Easton Royal from New Orleans, Louisiana is going to be taking a visit. He is just an absolutely electric talent on offense. Rashad Streets from North Carolina is a super productive edge rusher that Oregon's been recruiting for a while now. And then a couple more names just to round it out. You have Marcus Fakatow, the recently reclassified 2027 defensive lineman from my backyard at Orange Lutheran. And then Keyshawn Bowman, a name that I'm sure you're familiar with. He's from Nashville, a former Oregon wide receiver commit, but decided to back off that pledge. He's going to be back in town for his first game day experience at Autzen, and there's a long way to go until the 2027 signing day, and I know the Ducks would love to get him back in the fold.
Yeah, going to be a really exciting weekend. We'll be talking Oregon Ducks recruiting coming out of this one for sure. You guys talk to us. Put your predictions for this weekend's USC-Oregon game in the comment section below. I want to know, how many points does Oregon win by this weekend? Put it in the comment section. Let's talk about the Florida Gators because they are in the midst of a coaching search, and coaching hot boards haven't really come into play in this Gator search because there's one name, Lane Kiffin. He is the hot board right now, at least until he says no. We got Gator insider Zach Albaverdi here, and we're going to break down the latest rumors amongst this coaching search. But before we do that, UF fans, do me a favor real quick. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. All right. Let's bring in Zach Albaverdi. And Zach, you guys at Gators Online, you've been doing a phenomenal job with the info and intel during the search. So catch us up. As of we're taping this on Tuesday morning, where are we at right now with the Gator search?
Yeah, everyone is on Lane Kiffin watch after some of the developments over the past few days. Obviously, the Rebels beat Florida in Oxford. After that game, Kiffin declined to discuss his future, shoot down any rumors about Florida. And then we've seen the news that has played out over the past couple of days. There's been reports about his family being in Gainesville, going to visit Baton Rouge. LSU has now entered the picture as well. And then we've had our reporting at Gators Online, which is, kind of detailing some of his interest in the UF job, how far that goes back, what some of the feeling is in Oxford in terms of the potential for him to leave for Gainesville. And now we wait. We wait to see what happens next and if there could be a resolution here in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, and fans have a ton of patience with this, right? Like everybody's just waiting. When we talk about the hot board, though, it's just Lane Kiffin right now, right? Like we're not, when you talk about Gator coaching search, you're not really entertaining any other names, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Florida is doing its due diligence to make sure that it's, considering other candidates and figuring out what its best backup options would be. But it's clear that they have set their sights on Lane Kiffin. And look, Florida understands the assignment. This is the coach that is the best available. It is the one that the fan base wants. He checks a lot of the boxes that they need in terms of where they got to go to get their program on the right track. I certainly think that they've done their homework to in the outcome that he decides to go to LSU or stay at Ole Miss, or maybe he pulls a wild card and goes to an NFL team. Florida will make sure that it doesn't put all of its eggs in one basket, but it seems like a lot of their eggs are in the Lane Kiffin basket.
Yeah, that's just the way it's going. All signs point to Lane Kiffin. Now, whether or not that's going to happen, we're going to find out soon. But as with any modern coaching search, the message boards have delivered, whichever side you're on, whether it's Ole Miss, LSU, UF. I mean, we had our good friend Dan Thompson got the Gator fan base into a frenzy when he told everybody on Friday, quote, be by their phones on Sunday. Now, everybody waited patiently till Sunday morning. Then they weren't so patient. Sunday, obviously, come and gone. But was Dan really wrong? We're going to get into that in a second. But then on Monday, LSU message board answered. You had All Things Go 22 come out of left field with photographic evidence of Kiffin's family getting off a private jet in Baton Rouge. And now I know this isn't like the typical tracking of jets that we usually have on the message boards, but what do you think of the fan source info we've gotten so far?
Yeah, this search has been unlike any others in terms of how much has come out. Like this is playing out on social media because of the agents involved. I think because of the schools involved. Some things have been kept under wraps, but others have not. And obviously you're going to get some stuff on message boards and folks on Twitter. I think that the craziest thing was the photos that came out from the Baton Rouge airport. Like that was next level journalism. Shout out to the boots on the ground there.
All Things Go 22.
That's right. Give the proper credit there. So it's been great to see, and it is unfortunate, I guess, for Ole Miss too, because look, this is the best season that they've ever had. This is the best season that they've ever had in the modern history of college football, and it is kind of turned into a little bit of a sideshow, a little bit of a circus with all the Lane Kiffin stuff swirling. And hey, man, one thing about college football fans, they're going to find things out, and it's going to leak on message boards and social media, sometimes even before it gets reported.
This is what makes college football so great, man. You don't get, like, when there's an NFL coaching search, you don't get fans on a message board coming through with
Not at all.
real live info, like up to the minute. So gotta love college football. What do you think though, in terms of what Ole Miss what are you hearing in terms of how long Ole Miss will let this go without Lane Kiffin giving them an answer? Because they're on a bye week, so it kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility here.
Yeah, the reports that came out Monday, which kind of confirmed some of the stuff that I had been hearing, which was that Ole Miss, I think, is going to get to a point where it wants an answer from Lane. And
Sure.
What the timeline of that looks like, I think, remains to be seen. It seems like the Egg Bowl is kind of the date that everybody's pointing to. Will we get some answers before then? Will we get some answers immediately after then? I think that's the window that everybody's kind of watching. I don't know what that could mean for him coaching in the Egg Bowl if he does decide to give them an answer that is, I'm leaving. Like, how far along in the preparation for that game could they be to where they don't, pull the plug on him?
Mm-hmm.
But there certainly seems like there's a possibility that if he decides to not sign an extension at Ole Miss, that he may not be coaching them if they make the college football playoff, which is a crazy scenario to think about for a coach that has led his team that far and built the program up. But I understand also Ole Miss may be kind of wanting to force the issue and figure out where things stand before they let him coach in the postseason. So it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, one way or another. All right, well, this is a recruiting channel. You are also very familiar and have covered recruiting for a long time. So with December 3rd early signing period, how much or how little is that playing into this whole coaching search, that date?
Personally, I feel like the January 2nd portal window is the more important date. That I think that coaches, not just, and certainly for Florida as an administration, like that's the date if you're looking for or trying to fill an opening that you need to have somebody in place by.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you can do it before the early signing period, that is very ideal. Florida has a class in place so far. They haven't had any defections as we record this on a Tuesday. That could change here. But I think it's important for Florida to try and get somebody in place as soon as possible. They have a lot of commits in their class that are going to be early enrollees and that are going to want some clarity on what's to come. There is the potential for them to kind of sign an affidavit, but not necessarily bind themselves to Florida, but still present an opportunity to enroll early if and when a hire is made, before that they can do that. So I just think that that's what they need to do is figure out where things stand, communicate that to the recruits. There are going to be some guys, Josh, to be honest, that might sign with Florida if a coach still hasn't been announced yet. I don't think that that's likely. I think that with all this Kiffin stuff, we're at least going to figure out what he's going to do most likely before the early signing period. And if that's the case, then they got to figure out what happens with the transfer portal.
Yeah. Will Griffin, he's locked in. I think he's a Gator through and through, regardless of the head coach. So it's not like this is a situation where you have a DJ Lagway committed where, hey, he's from the state of Texas. Maybe if we don't have a head coach, we're going to lose our generational quarterback. Well, at least that's what everybody thought at the time. So we'll see what happens there. No decommitments. Who is recruiting right now for the Florida Gators?
Obviously, I think the staff obviously is still keeping the lines of communication open. Their recruiting staff,
job.
obviously. Yeah, man. I mean, look, some guys have taken some visits. They're certainly hearing schools out, and I think rightfully so, figuring out maybe what some backup options would be if they don't like the next coach or the hire isn't made in time that works for their timeline. But, yes, to Florida's staff's credit, interim coach Billy Gonzalez, all the recruiting staffers and people in the personnel department, they have been doing their job and holding up their end of the bargain. And I think it's impressive for Florida to have this class in place so far. They got to kind of keep it intact. But you mentioned guys like, Will Griffin. I don't know how many of these guys are really going to have to fight to hang on to. And that's not to say that they're not great players. I do think a lot of them are just, they want to go to Florida, the Justin Williamses of the world and some of these other in-state commits. Yeah. The guys like Davion Gross and Kevin Ford and some of these out-of-state guys, McCoy, those are going to be the ones that are a little bit harder to hang on to.
Yeah. Definitely. And we're seeing the same thing at LSU. A lot of the core of their class is made up of in-state prospects, and they haven't had any decommitments either. So, we'll see what happens. But it just feels like being in this office, reading what you guys are reporting, reading what Shea Dixon of our LSU site's reporting, it just feels like we're going to come down to some sort of conclusion, whether he stays, whether he goes to UF, LSU, but I don't know. The momentum needle seems like it's a little bit in favor of the Florida Gators right now, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But thank you for joining this show. Gator fans, talk to us. How are you feeling about the search? Are you one of the Gator fans with info? If you have inside info, please put it in the comment section below. We will take it into account, and who knows, maybe you'll go viral for the being the next message board fan with info. So let's hear it, Gator fans. Who and when? Well, when do you think Lane Kiffin will be announced as the next head coach of the Florida Gators? Put it in the comment section below. Let's talk more of this coaching search. And right now, we are in the middle of hot board season. Whether you love them, whether you hate them, you can't log on to Twitter or X without seeing a updated hot board, whether it be the Auburn job, LSU, Florida, whatever it is. Coaching search is taking over college football. So we're going to get national analyst Adam Gorney on the show and kind of talk about how this is all impacting recruiting, because signing day is only 2 weeks away, which makes me think you guys hop on board, hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. Things are about to get crazy, and we want you to be a part of it. Make sure you guys are subscribed. All right, let's bring in Adam Gorney. Hot boards. We love them. Fans love them. Do recruits love them?
Yeah, we love them. Coaches hate them.
Yeah, coaches hate them.
Coaches can't stand them unless they put their own name on them and float their own name for other jobs. Then they love them. Which happens, absolutely happens. Recruits are split, and I talked to a bunch of them this week. There are some that follow them pretty religiously, surprisingly. They're actually very interested in them, kind of monitoring what's going on, clicking around and seeing what people are saying about them. One, Corey Barber, who's committed to Ole Miss, didn't even know they exist. And then Gavin Sidwar, the Missouri quarterback commit, said his dad follows it, and then he knows some stuff. So I do know for sure that Sidwar has been reaching out to some people to see what they've been hearing about Eli Drinkwitz and what that looks like there. But yeah, it is surprising that the kids actually sort of follow this and really want to know where their coach is going, what people are saying, and what kind of rumors are out there about it.
Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of like Florida, LSU, and Auburn. Those commitments would be watching the hot boards, but Missouri quarterback commitment has a great reason to also look at the hot boards. So you got kind of two ends of the spectrum there. You got the recruits that have to look at the hot board because their team that they're committed to doesn't have a coach. Then you got the other recruits that are committed to very successful programs whose coaches might get poached. Wow. It's really kind of dynamic here.
Just think across the landscape right now. You have open jobs in the Southeast. Now you have Penn State. Now you have Virginia Tech filled with James Franklin, who is now already reaching out to current Penn State commits, Penn State decommits, and then kids in Virginia. You're going to have the domino effect once Lane either stays at Ole Miss or goes to LSU or Florida. You have UCLA open, whether that's Tosh Lupoy going down there, which has been rumored, whether that's James Madison's coach coming out, whether that's Jed Fish leaving Washington after saying, things. And I talked to Brent Key about this actually yesterday. I said, do you like or hate hot boards and how annoying are they? And he said, I couldn't care less, but there were rumors about him interviewing with Penn State, and there were rumors about him with the Auburn job. And, if you're wanted, you have to come out and prove your loyalty to your school without saying too much to burn every bridge possible. But if you're not wanted, then you're on the on another coaching carousel hot board of being on the hot seat. So it's a no-win situation for coaches, really. But kids are loving this, and us in the industry, we absolutely love all the rumors and stuff that go into it.
So what's the sense you get in terms of patience let's talk about recruits that are committed to programs with an open vacancy right now? So, Auburn, LSU, Florida, some of these programs that do not have a coach. What's the sense of the committed recruits and their patience level when it comes to having a hire in place? Because signing day's 2 weeks away. So do you think, and maybe NIL has strengthened some of these commitments, but do you think some of these guys are worried going into it, or just saying, hey, I'm locked in with an NIL deal, so whoever they sign, I'll just deal with it?
Yeah, I think, they're locked in with that NIL deal, but they're probably shopping that deal for another one at a school with a coach that's firmly in place and staying there, while also being very intrigued about what this weekend after November 29th is going to look like and how fast things are going to move. And that feels like what's happening here. There's going to be a ton of movement all at once, and then kids are going to have to make really snap decisions. And that's sort of why Virginia Tech, James Franklin, met with the board a little bit this morning, and it was a smart move. They were aggressively going after him to get him in place, just so they could kind of get away from this situation of having to wait 2 more weeks to get somebody. Now he can get there. He can get a staff in place. He can recruit guys. Penn State can't do that right now. Auburn, DJ Durkin can say what he wants, but they, you kind of know that they're searching for a coach. LSU and Florida seem to be waiting on Lane. And then if that happens, Ole Miss is going to have to move pretty quickly. So there are so many moving pieces here. The kids are sitting there waiting in the middle. A lot of them probably won't make moves until later on. And many of them will sign because of NIL deals in place and that security. But there seem to be a lot of waiting, moving pieces here in 2 weeks.
Do you get a sense that there's some teams trying to take advantage of some of these openings and maybe trying to poach recruits that are in flux right now that don't have a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, let's just take the SEC, for example. I'm sure that Texas A&M is going after a lot of LSU commitments. Georgia, that is a place that's not moving right now. Right. Alabama is going to be going after kids. Oklahoma is trying to get kids. Texas has its own problems now with 3 losses, but they're going to be aggressively going after kids. It would be interesting to see if Tennessee makes a run at some guys. You go to the Big Ten. Indiana's not really in that, shopping in the same stores still, even at 11-0. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State, and especially Dan Lanning down the stretch, I've been hearing that he's been reaching out to people aggressively, trying to get them to take late visits and then flip them.
Yeah. We've never had an early signing day as early as December 3rd. Yeah. So what's kind of happening is unprecedented. We don't really know how recruits are going to react to some of these openings down the stretch, but what's just your guess? Like I guess what I'm asking you is, we're going to be live on the Rivals Recruits channel kind of leading up to signing day. Do we need to go live for 72 hours and just do like a 3-day stream where we are just reporting flips and like how crazy is it going to be?
See, these are the ideas that sound good now, but then when the boss is here, that we're available for 72 straight hours. I think it could get very interesting in this sense. One, you're going to have coaches, potentially Lane Kiffin, and he just said it on the Pat McAfee show that it's untrue that he needs to give Ole Miss an answer before the Egg Bowl. Now, whether that's true or not, we'll see. Right. But you're going to have potentially numerous coaches coaching through signing day into a playoff and then possibly leaving for another school. So one situation that I could see potentially happening is kids waiting to sign. A lot of them might not make their decisions in early December. They might not even make a decision ever. They don't really need to do this. I mean, it's sort of a created thing, signing day. They could just show up at a school in January. I think we're going to see some of that.
So I just want to clarify. When you say they're not going to sign in the early signing period, that doesn't mean they're going to wait till February.
Right.
It just means that they're not going to sign anywhere. They're just going to step on a campus and enroll, because really that's the only thing that's truly binding is enrollment.
Right. Right, exactly. Yeah. So like, let's say Lamar Brown isn't happy with the LSU situation. He doesn't need to sign in December. He could just show up at LSU once they name a coach, or he could go to Texas A&M or wherever he wants to go. So I think we're going to see some of that and some kids considering that down the stretch.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see a lot.
Interesting. The moment a recruit doesn't sign, I mean, it's almost like he's decommitted. He might end up signing there in a few days, but there's a reason why he's not signing on signing day. And at that point, every other coach in the country is going to take notice. Oh, so-and-so didn't sign. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, and we saw this a lot during the COVID year. JT Tuimoloau was one of those kids who didn't take any visits until later in his recruitment, and then everything was shut down. So he was kind of screwed out of seeing all these places all at once. And then he waited until like April to do it. He wasn't going to enroll early. So he was under no like pretense of December 3rd is coming up. December 5th is the end of it. And we're kind of sitting here. We have to make a decision. So I think we might see a lot of that consideration. We'll see if that happens.
Right.
Especially from kids like, let's say Lane leaves Ole Miss, and then kids are like, okay, I didn't really have a second option. Can I follow you? No. Okay, where do I go? Okay. And then all those things happen all at once. Yeah. That's what I think we're going to see a lot of it at the end of November and then right into the early part of December is a lot of quick decisions and a lot of quick flips once coaches really start getting in place.
Right. In the December 3rd signing day is the beginning of a 3-day window for you to sign. It's not, signing day is not the last day that you can sign. A lot of people get that kind of mixed up. They feel like signing day is the last day you can sign. Signing day is the first day you can sign. It's a 3-day window. But then after that, that's silly season. Like, the 3-day window is great and all, but it's not the end of it. So we're entering an unprecedented time because we've never seen the December 3rd signing day. All right, Inside Scoop watchers, let's talk game time because the NFL season is here. College football is almost over, and who doesn't love to see their favorite NFL or college team in person, especially when you can go with a bunch of your buddies. But, tickets aren't always going to be easy to find, and getting deals on those last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there for the moment your team runs out on the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences, and it only takes a few simple clicks. The app's easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. You can even get into NFL games as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you are getting the lowest price if you can find cheaper tickets elsewhere. All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code INSIDESCOOP. That's promo code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Inside Scoop, $20 off Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Yeah, what I think is super interesting and very bad for some players here is you have this way early signing period, and then you have games into the playoffs, and then coaches could change, and then an early portal window that starts January 2nd, I believe. So I wouldn't be shocked if some of these elite kids that, can kind of wait, see exactly what these coaches do in the portal and say, hey, I'm not being over-recruited with 3 other edge rushers that you're taking from other schools. I'm just not going to sign in December, and then I'm going to see how everything plays out into January, and then either show up at a school. I'll still have time after that portal window to probably get to a campus and get going for spring practice. So there could be a lot of scenarios that play out here just because, again, in everyone's infinite wisdom, everything is squeezed into a 1-month window around every single thing that's happening in the sport all at once. So it's going to be a very interesting month.
Yeah, and we'll see if this sticks because the last couple of years, the early signing period has been December 15, December 19, the 20th. It kind of falls in mid to late December, which gives time for official visits after the season. It gives time for recruiting after the season. Now, signing day is going to be 4 days after the season ends, so expect chaos, and that's what we're going to be here to cover. So you guys, you're in the right spot. So Adam Gorney, it's going to be a wild 2 weeks until signing day, and then I'm sure it's going to be a wild 2 to 3 weeks after signing day as well, so get ready. We got a rankings update to talk about, a couple newly minted 5-stars in the 2026 class, some big movers as well. Now, this is the latest update of the Rivals 300 in the 2026 cycle. Currently, we're at 21 5-stars. As you guys know, by the end of the cycle in February, there will be 32 5-stars in the 2026 class. So that means one final update before it's all done. Now we got Charles Power, Director of Scouting and Ranking here. We're going to go behind the scenes of the newest Rivals update. But before we do that, guys, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. Signing day is 2 weeks away. You're going to want to be here for all the excitement. All right, so here we see the latest update. Quarterback Keyshawn Henderson, well-deserved 5th star. I want to start talking with Charles about DB Jay Timmons, who recently flipped his commitment from Florida State to Ohio State. But we've been talking about Timmons a lot. The interesting thing about him is we've been way ahead of the industry. He is now ranked the number 1 corner in America, and everybody else is following suit here. Charles, what do you think of Jay Timmons?
Could be pound for pound the best overall football player in this cycle. Jay Timmons is a guy who makes huge plays all over the field. He is a standout DB, plays safety and corner for his high school, also plays receiver, makes plays in special teams, hyper physical, great athlete. There's so many boxes that he checks. Also has NFL bloodlines. So Jay Timmons is really, in our opinion, a complete corner prospect and moved up to number 1 at the position in this ranking.
All right. Up next, I want to talk about offensive tackle Ekene Agboko. You guys remember him on this channel, committed to Georgia during the summer when Georgia was just on that heater of a run. Ekene was a big-time get, and now we understand why. He is a 5-star prospect.
The prototypical offensive lineman that you see at Georgia, Ekene Agboko is a monster in the run game, hyper physical, athletic. This is a guy who moves defenders at will. You see his athleticism on the defensive line. I mean, this guy had 27 tackles for loss, or has 27 tackles for loss to this point in the season. I mean, that's production that is on par with top defensive linemen. So he's a big-time athlete, a people mover, and looks to be a great fit at Georgia.
All right, let's move on to the next target on the 5-star list. It's Chris Henry Jr., and he broke out as a sophomore. Everybody loved him. Junior year, he gets injured, pretty much out for the season. This year, senior season, has been impressive, and he is now a newly minted 5-star.
He's reminded everyone why he was the number 1 receiver prospect early on in the cycle. Had a disjointed junior year, has come back with vigor as a senior, has had 3 huge games against national competition, dominating those performances, looking like the best prospect on the field. Chris Henry Jr. has kind of reminded everyone that why he was a 5-star and why he's so highly touted. He's arguably the most physically gifted receiver in this cycle. He's around 6'5", runs really well, can change speeds throughout the route, can win at the catch point. So it looks like a big-time receiver talent, and Ohio State continues to load up at the position.
All right, another wide receiver we got to talk about, newly minted 5-star Jalen Lott, committed to Oregon, but he's from the state of Texas. The Longhorns are trying to flip him. Miami's trying to flip him. There's no doubt teams covet Jalen Lott, and now we do too. He is a 5-star.
One of the freakiest athletes at receiver in this cycle, state champion long jumper, and he does it on the field as well. Jalen Lott has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He's a high-volume target for his high school, can affect every level of the field, just a big-time playmaker, threat to score anytime he touches the ball, and it makes sense why he's so coveted down the stretch. All
right, now defensive lineman Richard Anderson committed to LSU. He gets upgraded to 5-star status, but I want to talk about running back Xavier Crowell, committed to Alabama. He's one of these guys that reclassified, so really he was trending as a 2027 recruit, reclassified up to 2026, obviously one of the top-ranked guys, but it was hard to tell if he was going to be a 5-star in the 26 class. But Charles, you have him now as a 5-star.
I think he'll be the best running back prospect to sign with Alabama since Najee Harris in the 2017 cycle. Xavier Crowell has everything you look for as a running back. First off, hyper productive. He has over 2,000 yards already this season. I think he's averaging around 13 yards per carry. Threat to score anytime he touches the ball. Contact balance, long speed, burst, vision. Xavier Crowell has it all, and I think he's going to be an upgrade over the running back room in Alabama that they currently have, and is a guy who could maybe play as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old true freshman at Alabama, something that I'm sure like the Crimson Tide fans are familiar with.
All right, we got that is the That's the lowdown on the latest update to the Rivals 300. Like I said, 21 5-stars now. There'll be 32 by signing day in February. You guys talk to us in the comment section below. What do you think of the new 5-stars, and who do you think should earn 5-star status for the final update? Let us know. Comment section below. Thank you guys for watching the Inside Scoop. You can find us right here at the Rivals Recruit channel every Sunday and Wednesday. Rivals Recruits, your best source for all things recruiting. We will see you guys next time.